what was the spark that inspired this book, I Remember Nothing? The answer is, I have no idea. I honestly don't know what the spark was, because I don't remember anything. But I do know that there came a moment, because it's on my computer, when I wrote the words, I Remember Nothing, a memoir, on it. Not that this is exactly a memoir, but I just thought that would be a funny title for a book. And then I started doing that thing you do where you start writing down, you just kind of start writing down what might go into a book that was called that, and then things just piled up. Well, I think it's everything that has crossed my mind in the last 3 years. And one of the things, obviously, when I wrote I Feel Bad About My Neck, that's a book that has a lot of cosmetic issues in it, because as many of us know, that's one of the ways you really know that you're getting older, is the mirror, the dreaded mirror, the mirror that you're constantly going, please don't let me pass this mirror and look in it. Please don't let me get a glimpse of myself, because I will be so depressed. Because inside you understand, I think I'm 16. That was then, though. Now, I think you get to a point when you're getting older where you really do know physically that you're getting older. You know, and even if you find yourself in the gym, you know that you're getting older, and you know because things just go slip sliding away. All the things you think you used to know, you're not sure you even used to know them, but they're just vanishing. And you suddenly notice that a dinner with your friends is an endless series of, what was the name of that? She was the one who was, you remember her, she had just, and of course, we've all been saved from the true mortification of this by our mobile devices, because we can Google the answer. If you can just figure out what to ask Google, you can get the answer. But there's no question that when you get older, it's not that your disk is full, it's that it starts getting empty in some very weird way, and you remember nothing, and you find yourself saying it all the time, I remember nothing. I think one of the reasons people bought I Feel Bad About My Neck is that they felt bad about their necks. I think it was one of those titles. Sometimes you get very lucky with a title and people go, oh God, finally somebody is saying, you know, I really wrote that book because I was so exhausted from reading books or reading about books that said how fabulous you were in your 60s, how fantastic life was, how you could have the greatest sex of your life. I thought, are these people on crack? I mean, what is this about? And so I think that there was a relief for people that somebody was saying in a kind of wistful way, let's talk about this realistically. And I think I Remember Nothing is meant to continue that conversation. Well, you certainly get a lot of wonderful letters when you write a book, when you write books like these. And one letter I got was from a woman who said, okay, you're in your 60s now, but let me tell you about what the 70s is like. And she prepared me. She said that you always have to sit on the floor and look up at people. Because, of course, this is true. You know this is true, that you must never have a picture of yourself taken unless the camera is slightly above you. Never let anyone take a picture of you from below, because horrible things happen. But anyway, so she said, I always had to sit on the floor. And I thought, well, that's great, because I have to make sure I can get up from the floor. I mean, I'm in awe of her that she can not only sit on the floor looking up at people, but that she can then get herself out of that position. So anyway, I'm prepared for that. And she also said that you have to stop dyeing your hair at a certain point, which of course will be news to almost all the people I know, in my age bracket in New York. Nobody's really ready to do that. But I know what she meant. I know what she meant. When you write about your friends and your family, you know, I grew up with parents who wrote about us. And my sister Delia, who's a wonderful writer, got her head stuck between the banister rails when she was about 7 years old. And within a year, it happened in a Jimmy Stewart movie that my parents wrote. So we grew up, you know, with my mother saying everything is copy and life is material and you write about what you know and all of those things. And we very much understood in our family that you can write about one another and you just can do that. But that doesn't mean when it happens, everybody is thrilled about it. I have to say that. And not everyone grew up in my family, so they go, wait a minute. But, you know, writers, they just do those things. I think many books are not meant to be movies. So making books into, it's one of the reasons why when a lot of books that are made into movies we say, but did you read the book? Because the book was really good. Because books have a different shape. A novel has a different shape than a movie does. A novel is often first this happened and then this happened and then this happened and then this happened, and that's not the shape of a movie at all. The shape of a movie is beginning, middle, end. So what you look for when you read a book to make into a movie is there a beginning, a middle, and an end? And where is it? With Julie and Julia, that was a completely constructed beginning, middle, and end. Not the Julie part of it, which was I'm going to spend 1 year cooking every recipe in Julia Child. But the Julia Child part of it, where do you start that story with her and where do you end it? We ended it way before. We ended it just as she became Julia Child, just as that book came, which, by the way, speaking of old age, she was 50 years old when her first book was published, which is amazing when you think of how long she was famous and how we all thought she'd been there forever and ever. And in fact, she'd had an entire couple of lives before writing that book and changing her life. I think the hardest thing about writing is writing. And it's much harder now than it used to be because of the siren song of the internet, which sings to you all day long, so that when you get to a certain point in your writing process where you can't think of the next sentence, what you think is not, I'm going to sit here and think of the next sentence, but I think I'll check my email, or I think I'll go and see the New York Times website and see if anything has happened since 12 seconds ago when I last checked it. So I think that's the hardest thing about writing, but I try to write every day, and every single day I can at least say I tried to write something today. I hope that when people read I Remember Nothing, I hope after they've read it they remember it. Absolutely, that would be a fabulous thing to have happen. And it's funny, so I hope they laugh.